Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Every time you go online, you make hundreds of choices. You click, you scroll, you buy. You feel like you're the one in control. But what if that feeling of control is an illusion? What if invisible puppeteers are subtly guiding your every move, tricking you into making choices that benefit them? Not you. This is the shadowy world of dark patterns. These aren't bugs or mistakes. They are meticulously designed features crafted to deceive you. Today, we're pulling back the curtain to expose these manipulative designs, understand the psychology that makes them work, and learn how to fight back. The term dark patterns was coined back in 2010 by a UK-based user experience designer named Harry Brignall. With a background in cognitive science, he noticed a disturbing trend. Interfaces were being systematically designed to mislead people. He created a website to name and shame these practices, giving us a vocabulary for something many of us had experienced but couldn't quite describe. Dark patterns are the evil twin of design patterns, which are helpful, reusable solutions for common problems in software. Dark patterns, on the other hand, are reusable solutions for deception. They come in many forms, so let's break down some of the most common types. First up is one many of us have fallen for: forced continuity. It starts with a tempting free trial. You sign up, but you have to enter your credit card details. The catch? The moment the trial ends, your card is automatically charged, often without any warning or reminder. The company is banking on you forgetting to cancel. Another infamous one is the Roach Motel, named after the insect trap. It's easy to get in, but nearly impossible to get out. This is a classic of subscription services. Signing up is a breeze, just a click or two. But when you want to cancel, you're sent on a wild goose chase through confusing menus, forced to answer endless questions, or even required to call a customer service line that's only open for a few hours a day. The goal is to make you give up in frustration. A massive example of this is the U.S. Federal Trade Commission's 2023 complaint against Amazon. The FTC alleges that Amazon used a deliberately complicated, multi-step cancellation process for its Prime subscription, a process Amazon internally nicknamed the Iliad Flow after the epic Greek poem. Then there's hidden costs. You see an amazing price for a flight or a product. You get excited. You go through the whole process of adding it to your cart, and just as you're about to pay, a bunch of extra fees for taxes, shipping, and mysterious service charges suddenly appear, inflating the price. At this point, you've already invested time and effort, so you're more likely to just pay the higher price. A 2023 study by the research firm Dovetail found that over 40% of people reported financial consequences from dark patterns, including being tricked into buying more expensive products. One of the more psychologically manipulative types is called confirm shaming. Instead of a simple no thanks button to decline an offer, the site tries to guilt trip you. To refuse a newsletter, you might have to click a link that says, "No, I don't want to save money," or "No, I am not interested in being smarter." It plays on our desire to be seen as intelligent and savvy, making it emotionally harder to say no. Other dark patterns are constantly at play. There's sneak into basket, where items are added to your shopping cart without you knowing. Dutch Royal Airlines, for instance, was known for adding an extra charge to flights to compensate for carbon footprint. A good cause, maybe, but if it's not made explicitly clear, it's a deceptive pattern. And we can't forget Privacy Zuckering, named after Facebook's CEO, which tricks you into sharing far more personal information than you ever intended, through confusing privacy settings that default to public sharing. So why do these tricks work so well? It's because they are scientifically designed to exploit the glitches in our own thinking, our cognitive biases. Our brains use mental shortcuts to make decisions faster. Dark patterns prey on these. For example, we have a status quo bias, a tendency to stick with the default option. This is why so many websites use pre-selected checkboxes. That box to sign up for marketing emails is already ticked, and they're counting on your inertia to keep it that way. They also exploit loss aversion. We are far more motivated by the fear of losing something than the prospect of gaining something of equal value. This is the psychology behind those countdown timers, limited time offer banners, and only 2 left in stock messages. They create a false sense of urgency and a fear of missing out, or FOMO, pushing you to buy now without thinking. Add to this something called decision fatigue. In our hyper-connected world, we are bombarded with choices. This leads to mental exhaustion, making us more likely to make impulsive, poor decisions. Dark patterns increase our cognitive load with confusing interfaces, so when we're mentally drained, we take the path of least resistance, the path they laid out for us. But this isn't just a matter of bad design. It's a serious ethical and legal issue, and regulators are finally cracking down. The Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, has been particularly active. In 2022, Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, was ordered to pay $245 million in refunds to customers who were tricked into making unwanted in-game purchases through a confusing button layout. In 2023, Credit Karma was fined $3 million for falsely telling consumers they were pre-approved for credit cards. And in June 2024, the FTC filed a lawsuit against Adobe, alleging the company hides the true cost of its annual subscription plan and makes it incredibly difficult to cancel. This is a global fight. The European Union's GDPR rules for data privacy and its Digital Services Act, or DSA, both directly challenge and in some cases explicitly prohibit dark patterns. For example, TikTok was fined €345 million for violations that included using dark patterns to nudge young users towards less private account settings. While these deceptive designs might offer a short-term boost in sales, they are a terrible long-term strategy. When users realize they've been manipulated, it shatters their trust. That same Dovetail study I mentioned earlier found that over 43% of online shoppers had completely stopped buying from a retailer because of dark patterns. So, what can you do to protect yourself? It starts with awareness. You need to learn to recognize the red flags. First, be wary of any urgency or scarcity tactics. If a site is pressuring you to act now, take a breath and ask if the urgency is real. Second, read the fine print, especially the text on buttons and checkboxes. Be skeptical of confusing language or double negatives. Third, always look for hidden costs before you enter your payment info. Make sure you see the final, total price. Fourth, be suspicious of free offers that require a credit card. If you sign up, immediately set a calendar reminder to cancel before the trial ends. Fifth, always check for pre-selected options on any form. And finally, trust your gut. If a website or an app feels confusing, manipulative, or just plain scammy, it probably is. There are even tools to help. Browser extensions like Dark Pattern Detector can scan websites and warn you about common tricks. And you can take action. If you encounter a dark pattern, report it. In the US, you can file a complaint with the FTC. You can also share it on social media with the hashtag #DarkPatterns to warn others. The fight against dark patterns is ultimately a fight for a more ethical digital world. It requires a shift away from a design culture that's purely driven by metrics to one that prioritizes the user's well-being and autonomy. Ethical design is built on principles like transparency, user control, and honesty. And it's not just a moral choice, it's good for business. Building trust creates customer loyalty, enhances brand reputation, and leads to sustainable growth. As UX expert Jared Spool once said, design isn't just how something looks, it's how it works. And if it works by deceiving, it's doomed to fail. Dark patterns are a stain on our digital world, a betrayal of the trust we place in the services we use every day. They remind us that technology is never neutral. It reflects the values of its creators. By shining a light on this digital deception, we can start to reclaim our autonomy and demand a digital future that is not just functional, but fair, honest, and worthy of our trust. That's all for this episode of G Fun Facts Online. Stay vigilant out there.